Happy New Year to all, and may it be a year of very great interchange, peace, love, and joy. Today we begin a new canto, Canto 3, the Yoga of the Soul's Release. And I can see that 4 years ago, I began this in August. So now we begin again. And a little preface first. I have received many beautiful letters of appreciation for the previous talk. I am going slowly so that we may all deeply receive the grace and the mantric force that flows through these lines of Savitri. I am also aware that there are a number of people whose first language is not English. So defining words, even those familiar to English-speaking people, is of importance, because Sri Aurobindo has created a new English, and we must be aware of that at all times. We have read so many definitions of occult, etc., and Sri Aurobindo gives us those definitions in many of his greatest books, especially the Synthesis of Yoga, the Life Divine, and others. So when I created the lexicon of an infinite mind, which is taken from a line in Savitri, I went through all the books of Sri Aurobindo and Mother and took out all the definitions by them that were in Savitri that I could find. Secondly, I studied the Cambridge Dictionary, which was Sri Aurobindo's favorite dictionary. And lastly, I referred to, I believe it was Webster's Dictionary, for everything that I couldn't find in the first two. Now, I will begin with the first lines of the Yoga of the king who is Ashwapati. And Ashwapati is actually, we could say, a pseudonym of Sri Aurobindo. Namaste. For all of these experiences that Sri Aurobindo had, he put them basically in two places: Savitri and his sonnets. He very rarely uses the first person. He always speaks of we or thee. So we should begin. A skyward being, nourishing its roots on sustenance from occult spiritual founts, climbed through white rays to meet an unseen sun. Now, this sun is a different sun than ours. Ours is only a reflection of this sun. And we will only be able to see this sun when our being is purified. Because if we looked at this sun, we would immediately go blind. at any time, one instant. He lived, this is Ashwapati, as eternity's delegate. A delegate is one who is authorized to act as a representative for someone else. His mind was a fire assailing heaven. His will a hunter in the trails of light. An ocean impulse lifted every breath. Each action left the footprints of a god. Each moment was a beat of puissant wings. Puissant is used 11 times in Savitri, and puissance 17 times. So puissant, of course, is powerful. The little plot of our mortality, that's our humble earth, touched by this tenant from the heights, became a playground of the living infinite. So the earth is a playground of the living infinite. And what have we done to her? We have poisoned her seas, her lakes. We have destroyed her mountains. And now we must understand within our soul that the earth is a playground for the infinite, for the divine. And her true purpose is to become divine, and she will become so as the action of the supramental rises from the fullness of the earth. And those who will become its collaborators will join in assisting earth to return to its true beauty. Perhaps some of you have heard of my beloved friend, Mona Pinto, who was for more than 50 years in charge of Golconda. It's a magnificent structure to house ashram inmates and disciples. And its construction was overseen by the mother. Mother called Mona my collaborator. And she maintained Golconda in perfect condition for more than 50 years. Now, Sri Aurobindo is once again going to lift us in these lines of Savitri. This bodily appearance is not all. The form deceives. The person is a mask. Hid deep in man, celestial powers can dwell. His fragile ship conveys through the sea of years an incognito of the imperishable. So an incognito is a concealed identity. And imperishable is not subject to decay or deterioration. His fragile ship, in other words, our body, conveys through the sea of years an incognito of the imperishable. A spirit that is a flame of God, abides. What is this flame of God? Well, we have an unpublished manuscript from the Mother that would eventually become the first rough draft of the Adventure of Consciousness. How many have read The Adventure of Consciousness? One. It's one of the greatest books for Westerners because it was written by a Frenchman, Satsang, and Mother said, while you wrote this book, Sri Aurobindo was standing right behind you, giving you the words. So, what is this flame? Sri Aurobindo will tell us that this flame is Agni, the inner flame, the soul within us. Agni, the ardent will within us that sees always and forever and remembers. Agni is the priest of the sacrifice. And in the Rig Veda, it says, the divine worker, the envoy between earth and heaven. He is there in the middle of his house. Agni is always there in each of us. I would say that perhaps the psychic being, a term that Sri Aurobindo coined, may not be there in rare individuals, especially those who live in darkness. But surely he is there in all of us. And the psychic being grows as we grow into understanding out of the ignorance, out of the body-mind, the vital mind, into the higher realms of consciousness. Yes. Yes, okay. What is the difference in the flame and the psychic being?
No, that Samsa is being that is mentioned in Upanishads, or is that?
Well, it's also in Savitri.
It's the same.
It's in Savitri, in another passage, where Sri Aurobindo writes, a being no larger than the thumb of man, hidden deep in the heart. Okay. So that's the psychic being. And the psychic being, please, welcome, namaste. The psychic being grows with every birth we take. And it grows and grows until it becomes the divine. It's incredible. Each time we leave the body, the psychic being casts away all the darkness, all the things of the mind and the vital and the physical, and takes only those things in which we have made progress and carries them into the next birth. Last week I told you that when we die and we go to this place of rest, generally we are only there for 2 years until we take a new birth. Isn't that extraordinary? Sri Aurobindo says for most people it's usually only 2 years. So you can imagine how many births we have had to be here at this moment. Extraordinary. Back to Savitri. For him, mind's limiting firmament ceased above. So Ashwapati has already progressed so far that he is beyond this physical mind, our physical mind, that thinks in terms of the senses. We don't see the ether, which is above the senses, and therefore we are limited to ignorance. Only when we can break through into the higher mind, the illumined mind, the intuitive mind, the overmind, the supermind, are we free from ignorance. For him, mind's limiting firmament ceased above. In the griffin forefront of the day, of the night and day, a gap was rent in the all-concealing vault. The conscious ends of being went rolling back. The landmarks of the little person fell. The island ego joined its continent. Now, there's a lot to share with you here. What is this griffin forefront of the night and day? Well, we know that the griffin was a fabulous beast with the head and wings of an eagle and the body of a lion. And the forefront, of course, is the position of greatest importance. So in the griffin forefront of the night and day, a gap was rent in the all-concealing vault. What is this rent? Well, we have so many definitions of rent, but here it simply means torn open. A gap was rent in the all-concealing vault. The conscious ends of being went rolling back. The landmarks of the little person fell. The island ego joined its continent. So we are the island ego that has to join the divine, the supreme, the immeasurable, the ineluctable, the Lord. Overpast was this world of rigid, limiting forms. We only see forms in general. We judge people, we judge things, associations. We cannot see these worlds above as yet, because everything for us is limiting. Once, during a time when I was being severely criticized for taking financial assistance for the Matrimanya Gardens, someone came to me and said, "Never judge another person until you can see their soul. And when you see their soul, there will be no need to judge." The American Indians would say, "You can only know a man when you walked in his slippers." So life's barriers opened into the unknown. What can we truly see? Behind all things and all people, there is a truth which is imperceptible to the outer consciousness, that sees only garments and not a face. To paraphrase Sri Aurobindo, if we could see, truly see, then these barriers of life would open into the new, and the unknown. In another part of Savitri, he writes, ever to the new and the unknown press on. Abolished were conception's covenants. Well, a conception is only something conceived in the mind. A concept, a plan, a design, an idea, a thought. And a covenant is, of course, a binding agreement. So, abolished were conception's covenants, and striking off subjection's rigorous clause annulled the soul's treaty with nature's nescience. Now here we have to go a little deep, because nature is capitalized here, and nature is the essential creation. But when the divine sends his Shakti to create this universe, at first it's perfect. But as Shakti descends and descends and descends, it's not less perfect, it's just somewhat diminished. We see, according to the 10 avatars of India, beginning with the water creatures, then the amphibians, then the boar, etc., etc. And then finally to the avatar. So this soul's treaty with nature's nescience. Nescience is an absence of knowledge or awareness. It's basically, Sri Aurobindo says in The Life Divine, nescience in nature, capital N, is the complete self-ignorance. All the gray inhibitions were torn off, and broken the intellect's hard, lustrous lid. Now, this is very interesting because he speaks to someone on his birthday about this lid of the mind. And he says, if I can recall it, there is a lid over the mind and a veil behind the heart. And I don't remember the rest, but he says that with devotion and sacrifice, the lid thins and vanishes, and love completes the heart. That's only a rough definition. So, what are these gray inhibitions? Well, gray, of course, we know is usually gloomy, dull, dreary. And these inhibitions are conscious or unconscious restraints of a behavioral process, a desire or an impulse. Oh, I want ice cream tonight, or I like this girl, or I don't like this person, etc. These inhibitions that we build in ourselves, like and dislike, good and bad, ugly and beautiful, we can go on and on with them. They were now torn off, in Ashwapati. And the intellect's hard and lustrous lid, because there is some luster in the intellect. It can work in terms of thought, but it is incapable of receiving pure knowledge. Truth, unpartitioned, found immense sky room. An Empyrean vision saw and knew. The bounded mind became a boundless light. The finite self mated with infinity. This is what Mother has asked us all to do. To become a boundless light. To mate this small, infinite self, finite self, with infinity. Now he will speak about Ashwapati again. His march now soared into an eagle's flight. Out of apprenticeship to ignorance, wisdom upraised him to her master craft and made him an archmason of the soul. I would like to speak a little bit about these lines, because these lines are mantric, and they are not easily approachable to us. So Mother tells us, allow them to go within your inner being. And when they go within your inner being, slowly, after repeated readings, they will make themselves revealed to you. Oh, how beautiful that is. Don't struggle with the mind to try and completely understand mantric lines that come from so far above the mind. And only Sri Aurobindo had this capacity to go into the overmind, and perhaps at times into the supermind, and bring these lines down that are vibrating with the truth, with beauty, with love. So now Ashwapati, out of apprenticeship to ignorance, notice that Sri Aurobindo uses the word apprenticeship. We are all apprentices to ignorance. He capitalizes ignorance. But we can grow from apprenticeship to become masters. Wisdom upraised him to her master craft and made him an archmason of the soul, a builder of the immortal's secret house, an aspirant to supernal timelessness. Freedom and empire called to him from on high. There gleamed the dawn of a spiritual day. And this is Sri Aurobindo's work on earth. For more than 50 years, he worked on Savitri. Every time he rose to a higher level of consciousness, he rewrote it, the book. Book 1, Canto 1, he rewrote 100 times. 100 times. And I have seen most of the drafts. An aspirant to supernal timelessness. Supernal is a synonym of heavenly, an aspirant to supernal timelessness. Freedom and empire called to him from on high. Above mind's twilight and life's star-led night, there gleamed the dawn of a spiritual day. Mother tells us that it was time that the dual avatar came to earth, to lift man and earth. The dual avatar, we can say, is Purusha and Prakriti, the divine Purushottama and his creative force. So there is a gleam of the dawn of a spiritual day, but it's just a gleam. So much more is yet to come. Whenever we have a small break in the lines in Savitri, we should rest for a few moments. So the force that has come into us from reading these lines can enter freely into our soul. So why did Sri Aurobindo and Mother come? Well, we could also ask, why did Rama come? Why did Krishna come? Why did Buddha come? Why did Christ come? Because at each point of the evolution, when there is the possibility of an uplift, of a rise in the collective consciousness, the avatar comes. But this time, the dual avatar came. And Mother said it was needed for the work. She also said that whenever you see Sri Aurobindo and me as different, you have no idea of this yoga. We are the same. So I can continue a little bit, but if you have any questions, please ask. Well, I think it's important that we understand this connection of this ascent to the divine life. We make small leaps, small progress. We fall down and we have to rise up again. We fall again, we have to rise again. But as difficult as this journey may be, the hand of the divine is always supporting us. In fact, Sri Aurobindo and Mother are with us now. We have been holding Om choirs here for years, and they have been with us every time. And I've written a book about it, The Ascent to the New Music, in which I mention, without names usually, the experiences people have had here. and certainly in Savitri, which when Mother asked me to come to Oroville and build the gardens of the Matrimandir, which are now taken away from me, but I have no anger toward anyone, because each of us are on the same path, the path to the divine. So Mother said, keep living in you the spirit of consecration, and all will be all right. And I live with that ever in my consciousness. There is a beauty that is so above the beauty we can name. There is a love that exists without desire. Mother calls it the divine love. And Sri Aurobindo tells us, from the light we came, and to the light we go. So even though we have to face challenges, difficulties, illness, death, all these things, we have to remember that in the higher realms of consciousness, they are helpers on the way. And last week I spoke quite a lot about death. Death being nothing at all, but helping us when we become too old to make progress in the body, in the vital, or in the mind. We shed the physical mind, but not the true being in us. That is the psychic being. And let us always remember that it is growing at every moment in each of us. Next week, we will continue with the yoga of the soul's release and the many ways in which Ashwapati is growing and teaching us how to grow. I think that one of the most challenging things for us is judgment. We judge so much, and we must get rid of judgment. If we can see the divine, or at least feel the divine in every being we meet, we are making progress.